I just noticed Clinton's subtitle. A premium account on X/Twitter is required. Yeah.
Oh, just ignore that. That's fine.
It won't let me go live with that on there. Can I edit and remove it? I'm going to
hit the edit and remove it. I think we did that before.
I can collapse it. I can't remove it.
You can't edit it, and
I'm editing and I see the 3 listed, but there's nothing to remove it. Oh, let me try and unclick it here. Remove this destination from the stream. Remove. There we go.
There we go.
We got to just take that off of our profile since we're never going to go there again.
Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, stop queuing it up.
I'm listening. I hear noise. Could be the rain. Not sure.
Hey, is it me or are you guys in slow motion?
We're not in slow.
I'm not seeing Clinton in slow motion. I'm not in slow motion. You just got a little grainy. So it could be your bandwidth.
Does your bandwidth go if it gets cloudy?
Use your temporal phase discriminator. If things start slowing down, you're about to get eaten.
Just got to press that right there.
All right.
Yeah.
Just like Middleton, whatever. Who?
Yeah, exactly. They probably say that about all the red shirts. So
who's? Yeah. So
was it me or was it StreamYard?
That was you.
Me?
Yeah. You missed our whole joke about the phase discriminator.
No, I heard the tail end of it. I don't know what was going on.
It's you.
Still?
So, no, you're fine now.
It looks good now.
All right.
You got grainy for a bit.
But I was saying, are you getting something from satellite? Is it going to get interfered with by the weather?
No, I got
fiber up there.
I got fiber at my house.
Oh, okay.
1 second. Let me try something quick.
He's going to adjust the rabbit ears.
He's got fiber for a healthy colon.
And what about a semicolon and his exclamation point and his umlaut?
Yeah. I've even got an extra Wi-Fi node here.
And an interrobang.
I got an extra Wi-Fi node here in the Utopia Planitia. To make sure.
Well, clearly they've downgraded the whole setup there. So
well,
Wi-Fi.
Starfleet's got budget cuts.
Wi-Fi on Mars. It's never what you expect.
Yeah, the air's thin. Yeah, it never didn't quite work right.
It ain't no kind of place to raise your kid. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. It's cold as hell. That's what I've heard.
Yeah. Wow. Are we ready to get going with this?
I am. I think so. Let's make this happen. We're going in 3, 2, 1.
This is The Topic is Trek, episode 166 for Friday, September 20th, 2024. Coming up in this episode, we say goodbye to a legend. Is Trek coming back to Universal Studios? Does Wesley have enough sweaters? All that and more right now on The Topic is Trek. Meet me at VIX. Welcome to The Topic is Trek, the podcast that runs on impulse power. Join us for a journey where no show has gone before. If it has to do with Star Trek, there's a good chance we'll talk about it sooner or later, because on this show, the topic is Trek. Engage already. Ba-ba-boom. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another thrill-packed edition of The Topic is Trek. I'm Clinton, one of your co-hosts. And as I always say, in order to be a co-host, I think I think it's legally required to have co-hosts. So, contractually obligated beaming in from parts unknown with the hip new catchphrase that you may be talking about sometime in the next year or so, who knows, is Mr. Craig Stepp.
Longest transporter ever. No, as you wish.
Well,
I know.
it's not your worst, I suppose. I'll say that for it
It's
at
It's
least.
supposed to be hip new catchphrase. I think we missed something in the middle there.
Catchphrase we got, you know.
It's inconceivable.
Yeah, no, wrong direction. All right, and also beaming in to join us, although apparently his voice is already here, is Mr. Chuck Tomasi.
That was just me coming in through subspace. Now
Ah,
I'm here. Now I'm
Right.
here, and I brought all my sweaters.
excellent.
Hey, he got the upgraded stream.
Well, he runs the
I-
console, so
I don't have a hurricane blowing through my backyard either.
Right. That's right.
yes, there's apparently some storminess in part of space here. So if you hear raindrops, it's asteroids or something. I don't know. It's a
Ion
meteor
storm?
shower.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Well, happy belated Star Trek Day to the both of you.
Yes.
Yes.
and you.
Is it my imagination, or was that the most underwhelming Star Trek Day in the past several years?
I was thinking the same thing.
Hey, 58 years, you can't make all of them big super celebrations.
I know, but I mean, essentially what they did was they put the first episode of, I like how they had to say it, of almost every Star Trek, because they couldn't put Prodigy up, the first episode of Prodigy. So that you get the first episode of every other version of Trek out there.
Yeah.
And then they also had donations, which they've had before. If you tweet with a certain hashtag, money goes to
Oh,
a series of charities. Then there were some pop-up events. One was in Chicago, one was in Berlin, and I think the third one may have been in London. I don't know about the ones overseas, but I do know that the one in Chicago was attended by about 4 people because no one publicized it.
yeah. Where they put these things too. I mean, they should have more. They could have done more little pop-ups or some kind of organized meetups or something.
Well, to be
I don't
quite
know.
honest, all the things I could find that were announcing the activities for Star Trek Day, the episode showing all this sort of stuff, were coming out on September 3rd. Now, that's a little late. I think somebody just went, oh my, they flipped the calendar and went, what, wait, what, who, what?
Yeah.
I was on vacation for Labor Day weekend.
Hey, I thought you were going to say when they put up a donation thing, and I thought, oh, great, Paramount really is out of money.
Well, here is my Star Trek Day gift to all of you: is we're going to not have the Battle for Paramount Mountain this episode.
But we do have some pumpkin spice Star Trek.
We do. We have some, because we can't avoid having pumpkin spice Star Trek.
Pumpkin spice.
All right. Well, we're going to be talking
I
about
got a pumpkin spice shirt.
we're going to be talking about pumpkin spice. No, we're going to be talking about 3 episodes of Prodigy, because now it's a race against time. We have to get to the end of Prodigy before the beginning of Lower Decks, which is at the end of October.
Hey, we're embodying the show. It's a race against time. They're having race against time.
Yeah, we're kind of like, but we'll do a sprint and then break, and then sprint and then break, type of thing.
The great thing about time travel, you can do it at your own pace.
I suppose that's true. If you don't, if you're late, you can go back and try it again.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll be talking about parts 1 and parts 2 of The Devourer of All Things, and part 1 of The Last Flight of the Protostar. And we're going to take a break in the middle after we talk about the 2-parter of The Devourer of All Things, to do just a couple of news stories, and then right back into it. Now, a change in format here. We are going to give you the upfront stats like we always have about the episode, the directors, the writers, but we're going to try something here where we're giving a much longer plot synopsis and then just getting into the discussion of the episode. So we're not doing a beat by beat necessarily of the episode. It's more free form once we get through the synopsis.
Sure.
All
It's
right.
an experiment. We'll see how that goes. So for just the basic section of it, let's first of all head out on our main mission with an appropriate sound effect.
Before we do that,
Oh.
we kind of skipped over it real quick. The title of the show, Meet Me at Vix, is of course
Yes.
a tribute.
Yes, we'll be talking in the news section. We mentioned this as well, but yes, we lost James Darren, of course, our Vic Fontaine, just a couple of days ago, really, and we're all kind of taken aback by it and shocked and saddened at the same time.
Yep.
That and we'll have more reminiscing about James Darren in just a little bit.
Okay.
All right.
Then you need an appropriate sound effect.
I need a appropriate sound effect.
This one.
Alrighty. That works for me. Chuck, why don't you give me the stats down through the director of this episode?
Down through the director. All right. This is season 2, episodes 9 and 10 put together. The Devourer of All Things, parts 1 and 2. Part 1 is written by Jennifer Muro and directed by Sung Shin. And part 2 is written by Aaron J. Weltke and directed by Sean Bishop.
Okay. Craig, do you want to take the first part of the plot synopsis?
Yes.
Okay.
So in part 1, the Infinity arrives at the Nebula Gwen saw in her vision. Once a planet is located, the crew land the ship inside a massive temple and go in search of Chakotay. Instead, they find Wesley Crusher. He was the mysterious figure guiding them there, not Chakotay. He needed the crew present so he could complete his calculations. Only one path to restore the timeline will not end in endless suffering for the Prime Universe. But before he can finish, the Loom arrive and attempt to erase the cadets. Wesley is able to teleport everyone to a hidden section of the temple.
And in part 2, Voyager arrives and prepares to send down a rescue team. Majel volunteers to join, believing her telepathic link to Zero will be crucial to finding the cadets. Once on the surface, the Loom attack, erasing security officer Middleton from existence. Tysus calls for an emergency beam out, but Majel stays behind. She contacts Zero and asks for help. Wesley fears it will give them away, but Dal activates the teleport. The Loom do find the cadets, who try to escape using the Infinity. However, the ship is erased. Voyager fires on the time creatures, allowing Wesley and the cadets to get to the vault. The Loom turn and attack Voyager. Janeway uses a shuttlecraft to lure them away. Wesley realizes Majel was the missing piece in his equation. He says the 7 cadets must stay together in order to fix the timeline. They exit through a portal, and Wesley sends the planet back out of phase. The crew finds himself on an unfamiliar planet where they spot the protostar and Chakotay. All right. Who has some initial thoughts on this 2-parter?
Well, should I address the elephant in the room? I think it's pretty amazing. It was a nice surprise when Wesley Crusher comes walking out of the vault.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the thing that made me go, I just got to start watching the episodes, because that I found out early. Yeah, and so it wasn't a surprise to me that I really wanted it to be, because I already knew it was coming sooner or later.
Yeah, I
Was
think
that in the trailer at all?
No.
No.
This was
Okay.
in a live stream. Somebody kind of said, they literally typed spoiler and then said it. Well, in a live chat, when you're just reading stuff fast, that's
Come
not
on.
sufficient. That's not good
No.
enough.
Yeah, I get those kind of spoilers all the time, just like you do, Clinton, where I'm familiar enough with the property. As soon as you see even a keyword, you go, "Oh, dang it," and you realize what they're going to talk about. But still, okay, let's say it was a nice surprise. I think it
Yes.
was designed to be a surprise,
Mhm.
because really nobody was really talking about it for the most
Yeah.
part.
Will Wheaton said he basically had to lie, out and out lie to people when they ask, are you in it? Are you going to be in it? And he'd already like recorded his stuff like
Sure.
6 months prior. He goes, no, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nobody's talked to me about it.
Yeah, where's my agent? I don't know.
So keep that in mind anytime any actor says, I'm not involved with this project. I mean, we had that same sort of thing with the Spider-Man No Way Home, right? Well,
Mhm.
we're not in that. And of
Yeah,
course they are.
that's
So-
a Photoshop.
Yeah. So never trust an actor because they're acting. That they're acting, you see.
Yeah.
Speaking of his acting, I love like when they were introduced to him and Jankum makes a comment like this guy's one nebula short of a galaxy.
Yeah.
First of all, I think we need that to go with this soundbite.
Right there. Crackpot talk.
We need another soundbite that we can inject anywhere in this show. And
Jankum approves.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like Wesley is about 20 or 30 years short of that crazy old scientist trope. he was just kind of going on like there's a lot of stuff going on up here.
Yeah.
You could substitute in Doc Brown at any point for this.
Yeah. Oh,
Hey.
did I forget to say that out loud? Sorry, I should have mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys should be following me at this point.
I like the way he was playing him. It was a very much Whovian way. Did it not remind you of Doctor Who?
Yeah, things that had happened, or actually, never mind.
Yeah, he's like, oh wait, no, that doesn't happen yet.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
like,
even down to the fact when he goes into the vault, there's a center round console
yeah,
Yeah.
that he's interacting with. It's kind of it's a little on the nose, I would think.
yeah, a little bit. But I thought they did it very well. I did really like it, and I think they maybe went sometimes a little over the top when he was doing the. Well, wait, let me think. No, that didn't happen like
Yep.
yet. A little too much.
Time, thought. Yeah, they carried the traveler philosophy from
Mhm.
TNG. They made that. They tied that in very well. Like he's always been there, or he's always been traveling around. So I felt that was pretty genuine. The
But I thought it was interesting that the travelers and like the fifth time that I watched this to grab the screen caps
Yeah.
for this, I was able to really concentrate on the little bits of dialogue that you hear when the cadets are walking up and they see the stone statue of one of the travelers, and you're hearing these little voices, and the voices
Yes.
off in the distance are the travelers talking about the fact that they're going to be leaving this universe because this is unsolvable. And at the very end, you hear Wesley's voice saying, I'll figure it out.
And he
So
did mention that there wasn't enough travelers in this this universe to fix the timelines.
Well, it
So
comes
that-
out and says that they all left this universe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, what? What happened there?
Peace out, y'all. Yeah. I did like how obviously the nod to Gary 7 with the M5 and the whole apartment,
Mhm.
everything. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
so they're really leaning into this.
they reproduced that console spot on.
Well,
They
the
did,
entire
didn't they? Yeah.
the entire room, with one exception, and I was talking about this with Bonnie. There's one thing that they didn't do the same as in this shot, and I think I know
Let me guess.
why.
Let me guess
Right.
what it is.
Yep.
The lava lamp.
Nope.
Mini fridge.
Nope. Well, I mean, there are things that weren't in there that they put in there, but the
Go ahead.
one thing they did not do the same from the shot that I can tell is the office chair behind the desk.
Mm.
And I think it's because they had to create virtually everything else from scratch, the desk, the wall paintings, the shield on the wall, which I'm wondering if that in the Gary 7 set was the shield from the cage that the giant had that they spray painted silver. I'd have to go back and take a look at that. But
Yeah.
everything is, M5. And I have visions of the 3D designers going, could we just at least use a stock office chair?
Surely they got some. I mean, I'm seeing. You could probably go to Thingiverse.
Right.
online
That's what I'm
and
saying.
find
So
them.
they're going, we've got 1,000 office chairs. Why do we have to make another one? Can we just get away with that, please?
Hey, it's a good thing that it gave him like one of those gamer chairs that has the speakers and
Yeah. Wow, that Gary 7 was way ahead of his time.
1968, more or less.
yeah, more or less.
More or less than more, but
Yeah.
yeah. So we get hints of the travelers when well, the supervisor, because Dal says, can I speak to a supervisor? How do you know about the supervisors? Oh, you don't, because we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a person that keeps secrets very well, because he lets slip the mycelial network as
Yeah.
well.
Wait. That doesn't exist. Totally no.
Right. Yeah. What were your thoughts on the loom?
The loom were interesting. I had problems with the concept that there were creatures that could just survive off of an unraveling of the thread of time. But, I think Wesley tries to insinuate that it's always on the verge of collapsing. There's always a thread being pulled. So, okay, that could be, but they also had this selective, very fast, very slow aspect to them. They would like rush over, stop time, do their stuff. But there was that shot where they, everyone was pushing against the wall to get to where the infinity was. And there's 3 looms, and they're going as slow as you, because it's just like a set of steps between them.
Right.
It's like, but at other times it's like, boom, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just, they were a bit inconsistent in their attack process.
I did like the look of them, though. I thought it was
they had this element of Squiddies from the Matrix.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yet they had legs. They sounded a lot like the Wraiths from Lord of the Rings. They had that high pitched squeal, but yet this clicking, ticking sound too. So it was an interesting combination.
Which, in all fairness, that's kind of the way he described them. It sounded like ring race.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah. So I like them. I wish they were a bit more consistent with what they did, but the concept, the way they look, and if you buy into the concept that there's enough for them to feed on, that it's not just anytime somebody on the Enterprise or that we know screws up, it's the only time they get a meal. Then
the suggestion is, if they've been around, then we always have some alternate timelines happening. But isn't the whole premise of this show that we've got the universe existing in 2 states because of the protostar creating the black hole and the paradox that they created by trying to rescue Chakotay, and yet there's lots of alternate timelines, which would give them plenty to feed on somewhere else.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to remember. Does he state outright, and probably does, because it's the impression that I have, but I'm wondering if he actually stated outright that if the prime timeline, which he identified as the prime timeline, which I thought was hilarious, if that collapses, the other ones collapse, which like the mirror universe collapse, the Narada incursion timeline collapse,
right?
The mycelial
space, all that stuff.
And I would think it would be a case of ours would cease to exist, but the other ones would continue. I would think, because otherwise, something screws up 3 universes over and we're toast.
Well, I saw the branches were off of the main timeline, so if it goes away, the rest of them would go away.
Well, that's true. That's true. The ones he was showing, they did all have their branches.
Because he mentioned that if the loom, and they said this a couple of times, if the loom destroys you, it destroys everybody that you interacted with as part of your life. So,
it's the memories they had of you.
No, it would remove all the people.
No, it would.
No, because they got rid of Middleton, but everybody who knew Middleton didn't remember him.
That's not what he said. That's what Wesley said.
But that's
everybody's on the menu.
Well, everybody's on the menu, but if the loom consumes one person, like Middleton, all right. So just with Middleton consumed, his parents would not be his parents anymore. They might still exist, but they wouldn't know that they had a son. There'd be no record of him at all.
And if
Um,
he had children,
But they were out to eventually eat and consume everything in our universe. Yes, I think that they were the implication was that they were starting with essentially the epicenter
Mhm.
of it because that's probably where it was strongest, and then would work their way out
why
from
were they
there.
only eating the people though?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about that too.
And sometimes they could go through walls and ships bulkheads and shields, but other times not.
Yeah, I noticed when they were trying to get into we'll call it the training room or Gary Seven's office, that they were poking through, but they weren't
They were
actually.
kind of transparent.
Yeah, they weren't in
Yeah.
there. We'd seen that before, didn't they? Isn't that how they entered hologram Gwyn's quarters as well? I think it was just transparent tentacles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a different state that they're in, I guess, at that point. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but I think Chuck, if you correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about why aren't they eating everything, not
Right.
just the people?
The whole temple. Just eat the temple.
Yeah. We'll fix this.
And I thought it was I thought there was going to be a bigger plot point when the doctor sprayed whatever it was. He says, have 10 cc's of revenge. And the thing retracted from the spray. I thought, aha, we have a way to defend ourselves, but nothing amounted from that. And then Janeway realigns the phasers to their phase variants and zaps them and injures them.
But she did find a way to kill or at least it was unclear if it was killed or just stunned. I stunned
Yeah.
it. You drop a space, you stop a shuttlecraft on it, and it gets crushed at least temporarily.
So yeah, why didn't we realign everybody's phasers to this phase variance? Kind of like we did when we originally discovered the Borg and went, aha, let's remodulate our harmonics and technobabble here to do that. So it was kind of
Well, they
one
seemed
off on a couple of defense
They
maneuvers.
seemed annoyed that they were being like almost tickled by the phase variant. They didn't seem to be like recoiling from it, but they were kind of like, "Hey, that stings. Cut that out."
Right. It was
not doing
yeah,
that.
it was a reaction of sorts. Okay, so it didn't really necessarily injure them as far as we could tell.
Yeah.
Now I have something that I was trying to work out in my head about what a messed up crew is on the Voyager right now, because you have people that had the armbands and people that didn't have the armbands and people on the surface who didn't have armbands. It's just like everybody's going to have a different perception of the same reality because they will or will not remember certain
Yeah.
parts of
So
things.
people would take it. And why, when they beamed down with these armbands, didn't they
Did they
turn them on?
activate it? Yes. Yes. Well, maybe
We went to a temporal disaster area.
Look, they take a lot of power. You had to conserve it.
Turn
Well,
the
that's-
darn things on.
That's what I was thinking is like, well, let's say that it just consumes a lot of power and you don't want to use it.
Gary, temporarily challenged.
The CR2032 battery doesn't last
Temporarily.
that long.
Yeah, it's we don't have any spares with us, so you gotta be careful with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked the bookending of the planet, that it's out of phase and they bring it into phase. Although it's out of phase and the Infinity brings it into phase, and I guess when the
I think-
Infinity lands, it goes back out of phase because
I think they
Voyager has to bring it back into.
Right. And
No, they
Voyager seemed to
remodulated-
know-
they
They-
remodulated the ship, not to be able to see it. I don't think they actually did the whole planet.
Okay, all right. So
Okay. But Voyager instinctively knew what to do. They arrive in this debris field and go, readjust the shield harmonics, and boom, there's
Well,
a
they gotta-
planet.
you have to be smarter
than
than the cadets, right? You have to know more than they know.
Yeah. Oh, I got this one.
this happened 2 seasons ago.
2 seasons ago.
Yeah, and they mentioned they name dropped that it's the Iconians ziggurat temple that they're in. So they're name dropping from Trek in here as well on that stuff. Let's see what else we've got in here. What else? What other thoughts do you have about the episode?
Dell peaked at the data stream.
Yes, yes, he did because he's Dell, so of course he's going to.
Actually, I thought you were speaking like in the metaphorically challenged race. What'd you say? Say what you said again, Chuck.
Dell peaked at the data stream.
See?
Are you talking about Darmok?
Yes, right.
There's a new
You
phrase
didn't
for
even
you.
know. You realized you said that? Ugh.
Oh, and the image here reminds me. So we're getting more interaction between Majel and Zero,
Yep.
and Vulcan women. They just they just go for it.
I was gonna say this. Majel.
I mean, we see it on Discovery as well. They just
Majel seems a little
Majel.
Majel,
totally
that's
different.
right.
Totally different.
Totally different.
Totally different. I know. This Vulcan seems a little more open to caring. Like a little
Mhm.
empathy than most Vulcans we've seen.
Right. She's definitely going a lot with her emotions about stuff, and of course, then in true Vulcan form,
Yeah.
fluffing that off, saying, "No, this was
Rationalizing it
completely
later.
logical."
Yeah.
So, I don't really have many more thoughts other than I thought it was fun seeing Wesley pop in the character that we never really saw him in. It's the first time we've seen him like this, right?
Well, we've seen him with sweaters many times before. I'm not sure.
I mean, not sweaters. I mean, as a traveler, actually doing his thing.
Hard.
So,
we saw him as a traveling Picard, but he was just kind of like was talking.
Yeah.
yeah, he was there for like 2 seconds.
He didn't.
I'm saying this
He
is the
didn't
first
have
time
to
we've seen him
work.
doing his thing. What?
Yeah,
He didn't have any work to do.
that's
Yeah.
right. It was his day off. He was doing other
But
things.
well, my point is, I think that they actually made him probably even more interesting character because these are parts of his life that we hadn't really seen before. And like I said, I know he's very Whovian in a lot of ways, but I liked it. I thought he did a great job with it, and I enjoyed that character a little bit more.
Well, he's basically this is doing the world building of who the travelers are, with the,
Mhm.
Right.
just kind of seeing how that all goes down and what they do and they don't do. And we also get to see, I love the trope that when you get action Janeway, oh, the jacket comes off, baby.
Yeah. And then she gets dropped through a portal at the end back into her captain's chair with
Yeah.
her jacket on.
Yeah,
Well, that's a cool portal. It puts clothes on you.
yeah. I think she instinctively wears a tank top under that
Yes.
uniform.
Just in case. Just
Yeah.
in case.
I
Don't
take.
we
I got
all?
to get down to business.
And my favorite line of the entire two-parter was, I'm sorry that I can't hear you. We're going through a transwarp tunnel.
Yeah. Well, we will.
Yeah. We are soon.
Oh, and that was the other thing I thought was kind of funny was when she was messing with Jellicoe. I'm
I
sorry. Yeah.
I thought Jellicoe's voice was off again. I don't think that was the original actor.
No, I'll double check. Let me check with
We looked at it last time.
It sounded very stilted and very.
He's not a young man anymore.
I know. Voices change as you get older. I've recognized that in myself, but it just sounded a little
You go.
stiff.
Ronnie Cox talks
Yeah.
about Jellicoe's triumphant return the
Okay.
last time we
Yeah,
saw him.
he's
so.
just a little older. That's all. He's just a more mature Jellicoe.
Yeah, not
although
everybody's voice can be supple like yours as you get older, Chuck.
Although he's still a jerk. He's still a jerk, even though he's
Yeah.
more mature.
That resonates no matter how his
Okay.
voice changes.
What's Janeway's 3 rules?
Okay, it's
Tuck in her shirt.
No.
Always tuck in your shirt.
go down with the ship.
Nothing goes down with the ship, and
Coffee.
never leave a crewman behind.
I like coffee. I like that. We'll go with coffee. It's Go down
Oh,
with the ship.
wait, there's 4.
There's four.
This is like the Spanish Inquisition at this point.
This is the fourth of the 3 rules.
Our 4 chief tenants are
And always have your tank top ready. No, that's 5. 5.
our five rules.
We also get to find out that apparently you can fire the torpedoes out of a shuttlecraft
At close range in the atmosphere.
and it's gonna like knock out your engines perhaps, but that's about it.
Well, I was also surprised it had,
And they're quantum torpedoes for crying out loud. I mean,
but they were also firing in aft,
Yeah.
So,
That's not
which I don't think we've seen a shuttle do that before.
Well, I like how she says, yeah, that one I got from Tom Paris, but this one's my own. And it was a total F job.
Yeah.
You
Right.
better work on your tactics, Jay.
even the plate is shaking its head, going, nuh-uh. All right.
Are we going to rate these 2 together?
Yes, we will. We'll write 1 and 2 if we can keep them straight in our heads.
As I say, otherwise we're going to mess up listener Diane's spreadsheet.
So part 1, we get to the point where they get teleported to Gary Seven's apartment, if you will, and then part 2 is the second half. So for the first part, let's rate it on for part 1, 1 to 10 mango juices. So let's start with Chuck. Go this way.
I'm going to give this one a solid 8.5 mango juices. I liked where the story was going. I thought Wesley was a nice, character play in there. He played it well, was entertained, could not predict that well. However, the minus 1.5, that what did I say? 8 or 8.5?
8.5.
8.5. Yeah. It would have been closer to a 9 or even higher if it weren't for the inconsistencies with the loom.
Okay, fair enough. And what about you, Craig?
Okay. I'm gonna go with 8.5 also. I thought it moved the story along pretty good. Wesley was a nice surprise. I'm sorry it wasn't for you, Clinton, but it was a nice surprise.
It was for Bonnie, at least. So.
Yeah. I'm doubly surprised. This whole season came out in France or Europe or whatever early. I'm surprised we didn't hear any of that because of that release. So anyway, it was a nice surprise. I loved how they did Wesley's character.
Yep.
And I'd like to see a little bit more of that. So yeah, 8.5 for sure.
Okay. And I'm going to go a little lower on this. I'm going to go 8. Just because I think the second half is stronger in this story. So yeah, an 8 for me. And yes, I agree that even at the time I was giving a thumbs up and recognition to the fans out there who, if they got spoiled themselves, except with the person that spoiled it for me, but if they had the information out, like things like Wesley, that they were not just blasting it all over the internet. And very appreciative of that.
Yes, very much so.
Yep.
All right. So now let's move on. Oh.
Wait, one second. Chuck, I don't think you really said so, but how did you feel when you first saw Wesley or heard his voice and he popped out of the fog?
I liked it. I
Were
was
you very
like,
surprised?
oh, there, yeah. Kind of, yes, but it made sense to the story because he's a time traveler and they are dealing with a time paradox here.
Yeah, I was just curious what your thoughts were when you saw him.
Yeah, it was like, oh, that's cool. Let's
Yeah,
go here.
I think I did the same thing. It's like, whoa! I wasn't expecting that. Okay, yeah.
All right. And for the second part, let's rate it. Let's rate it on 1 to 10 tank tops. So
Well, then the other one should have been sweaters.
so many sweaters. I am going to give this one. I'm going to give this one an 8 3/4. I really like the way it delivered on the first half of it, and things are starting to finally start to come together
Yep.
in this episode, which is always a good sign. So this is a heavy lifting episode, and I think that there are flaws in it. Janeway firing quantum torpedoes within a couple of feet of the shuttlecraft is probably the biggest one, but overall, I really like the way it was starting to move the story forward. And so we're going to back down Craig.
I'm gonna give it a 9 because I like seeing Janeway jump into action, as we were just kind of joking about. But she all the way to she backed the shuttle out of the ship and was drawing the aliens away. And
How she got there so fast, I don't know, but
hey, it's Janeway, So
coffee. She got there by coffee. That's all you can know.
So she was really into that. Yeah, she drank a bunch of coffee before she took off. And again, they moved the story forward. Got Wesley was able to figure out what was going on and told them, what they needed to know and got them going and pushed them in the right direction. And I'm kind of with you a little bit on the loom. They were a little off in places, but other than that, I thought this was a great episode, especially the two-parter. I think it worked well.
Okay, and what about you, Chuck?
You guys have pretty much stolen my thunder. I'm going with a 9 as well. I like the fact that we have moved the story forward. We've talked about this a number of times on a lot of Star Trek shows, that episode could have been shorter, or they should have put these two together.
Yeah.
In this case, we're dealing with about 21 minutes of runtime, so there's not a whole lot you can squish out of this thing. But I did feel like we got our money's worth on part 2 in terms of story advancement. I like where they left it on this island, dunes, whatever, with the protostar. And I also like the challenge. Again, I like being surprised and not when the story's not predictable. Wesley figured out, Majel is this unknown variable that he couldn't account for. Like, nice, didn't see that coming. I like that. So I'm giving it a 9 also.
All right, excellent. And it's time to come back from our first main mission with an appropriate sound effect.
Number 7.
And
that was a 101. Did you hear that?
Let's listen again. Nope. It's time to ask if it's okay to do subspace chatter. And we never know these days. It's odd because we could get the nice Charlie X, who's mirror Charlie X, or we could get regular Charlie X. So let's find out. Charlie, are we all set to do subspace chatter?
Sure thing, friend. I love subspace chatter. Let's get going.
Yay!
Huzzah!
He's off to the Ren Fest.
I saw the picture on the little thumbnails we have on the bottom. All right. Okay. I pick one. And I saw it flip back and forth. Going, maybe I didn't pick the right one.
That's funny.
All right. Well, Chuck, you have the first story now that we've got the go-ahead from Charlie X.
We make fun of Charlie's goatee.
We should, though. We should.
Sharpie.
I think he was eating a chocolate bar or ice cream or something, got all over his face. Would that be Charlie in the chocolate face?
Yeah.
Could be. Could be.
Okay. Subspace chatter. We here at the Topicus Trek were saddened by the news that the actor and singer James Darren passed away on September 2nd at the age of 88. Darren's career stretched across decades, from his stint at playing Moondoggy in the movie Gidget, to his gold record for the song Goodbye Cruel World, to his roles on The Time Tunnel, T.J. Hooker, and of course, our favorite Deep Space Nine, where he played the holographic Vegas lounge singer Vic Fontaine. Darren is survived by his wife Evie, sons Jim Morit, Christian Darren, and Tony Darren, 5 grandchildren, and 1 goddaughter.
So I think I saw the Gidget movies, sometime on TV, but my first remembrance of James Darren is watching him on The Time Tunnel. I knew he was, he was already somebody who was a singer and so forth, but that's really where I first connected with him.
Okay.
Do you guys remember? Did you watch T.J. Hooker?
I watched a few episodes, but it was mainly, for the Shatner effect. And I don't remember.
They're going to beam him up this year?
James Darren in there too much. I did go back and watch the Time Tunnel, a few episodes of that years later, and went, oh, hey, I know him. It's a much younger version of Vic Fontaine.
Yeah. I've seen Gidget and stuff like that in the past, but even T.J. Hooker. But it's been so long ago since I've seen it, I couldn't tell you who all was in it.
Right.
Because it's been that long. But
we didn't have IMDb back then either.
yeah, I didn't have
True.
IMDb back then. But I will say he was a nice surprise character that came on. This is when DS9 was like hitting its stride, and they introduced this new character, and it's like, oh, this guy's pretty cool, for holographic character, which you've seen him in different all over the place. The last couple of seasons of
It's
DS9.
kind of surprising because the first appearance of Vic Fontaine is not until episode 20 of season 6.
Was that one of the Bashir spy episodes?
It's the one where Odo is trying to
Learn to play a piano.
well, yeah, he's trying to make a connection with Kira, and so yes, he's like
Oh, okay, yeah.
trying to learn how to do the piano and so forth.
Groundhog Day.
Hey,
Yeah.
we even seen him as a Bajoran
Mhm.
when they did a flashback and where DS9 was under occupation,
Ah,
and he had James Darren had the nose, and he was in a fight, a fight with him.
I enjoyed his interactions with Bashir, and especially when Nog
mhm.
got shot.
Yes, yeah,
That was impressive stuff.
Yeah, I think that was really the episode where, we talked about the fact that he had these interactions with Odo and so forth, but it was very clear that he was a father figure, surrogate father figure, and counselor, and all this stuff. And I think it shifted the direction of the character a little bit from that point. You kind of viewed the character a different way
Mhm.
from then on.
yeah. Between the writing and his acting, I think they did a good job introducing a character so late in the series and making him
Memorable.
interesting and get invested in pretty quick.
And I thought it was didn't think of it at the time, but because James Darren passed away while we were at Dragon Con,
Yes.
somebody should have put a Trader Vic's, over, it should have made it, Vic Fontaine's.
Yeah. Trader Vic Fontaine.
Yeah. Maybe
Oh.
next year. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
All right. So, Craig, you have the next story.
All right. Well, speaking recently with TrekMovie.com, not me, but Nicholas Meyer he gave a brief update on Star Trek Khan SETI Alpha 5, the audio drama project, stating it's alive.
Wait, an audio drama about setting up. Here's the soundtrack.
No, it was before then.
That's when this is the Golden Spot.
Yeah, it's more like birds and stuff. Anyway, he added that he believes they will be recording within the next year and that the casting is now in progress. According to Meyer, he had written 3 one-hour episode scripts for a TV miniseries, and those now form the nucleus of the audio drama podcast, which he expects will end up being 9 or 10 episodes in length.
They didn't call us for any voice talent.
I know, right?
There might be a reason for that, but I do find it interesting because this is a world that we're familiar with. It's been 2 years and they're just doing casting, and he's not sure how many episodes long this thing is going to be. I'm not really fast tracking this one here.
He doesn't know how podcasting works.
Yeah, that's right. It's radio theater. All right.
Spoiler alert. SETI Alpha 5 gets knocked out of its orbit.
Oh man. What
I
did
was
you
just thinking
That's not until episode 8.
did
so
they already release it?
they need to
Already
get Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez on here, and only murders in the episode.
Episode 10.
Only murders on the Botany Bay. All
Yeah,
right.
there you go. That's it.
Botany Bay.
And finally, Universal Studios Hollywood has announced that it will be launching a series of after-hour fan fest nights in spring 2025 based on Back to the Future, the world of Dungeons and Dragons, and of special interest to us, the Star Trek franchise. Developed by the creators of the park's smash hit Halloween Horror Nights, and those things are huge at Universal. The
Yeah.
Universal Fan Fest nights will be limited time, separate ticketed after hours events, immersing visitors in the various entertainment worlds. For now, they will be exclusive to Universal Studios Hollywood. More details are yet to come. And believe me, I have my eyes and ears out to find out whether or not I'm booking a flight to Universal Studios.
You can stay with our buddy Gary.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Universal Hollywood.
I'll invite you to his house.
It's probably going to conflict with the Star Trek cruise, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still a little shaky on the details here, and I don't know how elaborate these things are going to be. When they do Halloween Horror Nights, if you're familiar at all with those, they put out what they call houses. There are lots of buildings and structures that they put up that are walkthroughs of all different types. It's really elaborate.
That's cool.
I don't know if that's what's going to happen here or not. And I also was thinking, this is just me thinking with nothing to base it off of, zero. One of the things that this could mean is simply that attendance is down in theme parks this year. So they're thinking of, well, how do we get people to come in and get some additional income, sell some more merchandise? That's one way to look at what these things are going to be. Another way that I have nothing to base this off of. What properties do we think we want to reintroduce or have in a bigger way in the parks? Who's going to draw in the bigger crowds for these type of things? Because they no longer have the Back to the Future ride. They still have, Doc and Marty and the DeLorean photo ops and things like that. But are they thinking about bringing that back? And is it still of enough interest to move the needle with Star Trek, which also was something that was in Universal Studios previously? Would that draw them in? And Dungeons and Dragons. Now, Dungeons and Dragons is the weird thing because people are thinking it has to do, and they may be right, thinking that it has to do with just generically Dungeons and Dragons, the whole Gary Gygax bigger arch. But if you look at the artwork, and we do have it on screen in the video, the Dungeons and Dragons logo is the one from the Chris Pine movie like a year or so ago. That is literally the typeface of that. And so I'm not sure if it's generic Dungeons and Dragons or whether it's that universe Dungeons and Dragons, because it's not clear yet what the deal is there. So we're gonna keep on this story, and we will let you know. Now, we covered just a few stories because we're trying to go through a lot of episodes to get caught up before Lower Decks. However, and this is an accurate number I can verify because it's written here right in front of me. Here are links to, we do have links to 6 million additional stories. I remember it being,
we had to filter that down too.
I have to work on that because they are broken down by series and so forth, but I just didn't realize how many there were. 6 million. Wow. But you can find all of that over in the show notes for episode 166 over at thetopicistrek.com. All right, now I got to scroll past 6 million links to get to
where you'll find articles on everything from self-sealing stem bolts to sweaters.
Yes, so many sweaters. So many sweaters. All right, it's time to come back from Subspace Chatter, and it's kind of my favorite. I'm mixed on this one when this happens because when we have Mirror Charlie, it doesn't feel right that I'm happy about it, but it's time to say goodbye, Charlie.
Thanks for having me along. It was fun. But now my Phasian step-parents are calling, so I gotta go! 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 Go!
The street lights came on. It's time to go home and eat dinner.
When he's half transparent like that, the street lights come on and he's gone, baby, gone. So
yeah. Hey, I'm sorry, but that version of his beer is worse than the first one.
He's doing the best he can. He's just
He's
a
17, man. What did your beard look like when you were 17?
It's not consistent when he draws it on his face. I don't know. I can't help with that. He's just a young kid.
Yeah.
All right, and we have to head out on main mission part 2 with an appropriate sound effect.
Hmm.
There you go.
Sick bay scanners, apparently.
I guess so.
There's Dr. McCoy doing an MRI.
All right, Chuck, why don't you give us the no, you give the stats the first time around. Craig, why don't you give us the stats the second time around here?
All right. So this is Star Trek Prodigy, of course, season 2, episode 11, Last Flight of the Protostar, part 1, written by Deandra Pendleton Thompson and directed by Rulin Lee and Andrew L. Schmidt.
All righty, and Chuck, you want to read us through the plot synopsis?
Certainly.
Hmm.
Chakotay is living a solitary existence on a small island surrounded by a sea of clouds. Clouds, not clowns. When the cadets arrive, he does not believe their story and refuses to help. Hologram Janeway is able to convince the captain to at least give the visitors food and shelter. We learn that Chakotay's gruff exterior hides the pain of the loss of his crew, including Adrik, his first officer. When Chakotay and Adrik brought the Protostar to Yesida, did I say that right?
Sure.
Close enough.
Isida? It's
I
like
think
the
it's
town in Michigan, Ypsilanti.
I think it's why it's pronounced like an I. I think it's like Acidia.
Okay. They had to eject the protocore and vent the warp drives. Adrik thought it was possible to gather antimatter from the planet's ion storms to restore the ship. The first officer died proving his theory. Chakotay realizes that his number one and his cadets were right. There is always another way. Everyone begins making plans to get the Protostar flying again, but first, it will need to sail.
All righty. This was a rather emotion-filled and very, very jam-packed episode. And it
Yes.
didn't seem like it was going to be that way when it started off because it starts off so slow.
Yeah.
You think, okay, filler episode coming up. We see Chakotay, he's gathering berries. He's scraping off some of the fish eggs.
A solar panel, he's got his routine. And that's to indicate time has passed. A lot of time has passed.
Because it's 10 years that he's been trapped on this. I thought it was a plateau, but they identify it as an island.
Yeah, it looked like he was on the peak of a very high mountain at first because he was above the clouds. And I thought, wow, that's a long way to go fishing. But apparently the clouds are part of whatever this lake is that holds the fish. So he just has to go down the dunes, basically.
I thought it looked really cool. I liked the visual of the whole thing, the way it was.
Didn't they say it was a Class P planet?
Yes,
I think
they did.
Jenkins blurted that out. He goes, "You picked a Class P planet to strand the Protostar?"
Yeah, the interactions with the crew and Chakotay sometimes are. I'm surprised he didn't just stay surly with them.
I know, right? Yeah.
Dropping fruit on his head.
Yeah.
Hey, if you harvest everything in one day, there's nothing to eat tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't notice at first. I couldn't quite tell because the screen capture, but it didn't. Were some of the fish inside of Murph when he comes up with the net full of the fish?
I didn't notice that, but I did notice
think
that
so.
Murph got a buttload of fish.
Yeah, I think that was the case.
But it definitely is an inhospitable planet because it is just rife with ion storms. And very severe ones. Now on board the Protostar, everyone is secure, but when the crew first arrives, and Chakotay doesn't believe him, it's like, wow, that's really above and beyond to say, there's a ion storm coming up. Good luck to you. I don't know. That just seemed really harsh because he said, well, I survived here 10 years. I think, were you outside the ship during the ion storms or were you inside the ship during the ion storms?
Yeah. Yeah. It was like a salty dog, been on the ocean for so long, just sitting there.
I suppose its hackles are probably up because they also identified it as their ship and not really the case.
Well, there was a little back and forth, my ship. No, it's not your ship. He was. claiming it.
And it's, it's interesting to have that mindset as well, that we've been on this journey that they've been on, the cadets. But Chakotay sees 10 years ago, he sees these with the Galactic Raiders, and then they pop up another 10 years later with this long convoluted story about dire events and we the protostar and this and
Nobody's aged.
yeah. And they
We-
throw out quantum mechanics and
We also see when he finally softens up enough to say, okay, you can come on in. As Dal is the last person to get on the ramp, we see this crater open up behind him, and they never made a reference to that for a while in the show. She's like, what was that?
so that was the creatures down below.
Yeah, the sandworms.
Oh yeah,
whatever.
always got to be sandworms.
Always,
No matter
always
what franchise you're in.
get those worms in the sand. Well, we got worms in the sand around here too. So
Here's where they're installing the Starlink.
Or those hexagonal LED lights that people put on their walls.
Hey, let me say one other thing is, I think that they got Chakotay's beard looking pretty good there.
Mhm.
He must have been trimming it because that's not 10 years worth of growth.
No, but what I was going to say was, if you look at Wesley's beard,
Mhm.
I thought his beard looked a lot stranger because it kind of went all the way down his neck, almost into his shirt.
Well, some people
But
grow
they got
whiskers
Chakotay's
that
looking
far,
right.
Yeah.
I don't remember. What does Will Wheaton's beard
His
look
is
like?
a little shorter crop than was in the cartoon.
Yeah, it was like all under here. It just looked a little odd to me.
Mm.
Maybe it's just the way I like to hit my beard. I don't know, but it just looked a little too full.
Well,
under
he's
his chin.
he's been preoccupied with trying to save the universe and stuff. He doesn't have the time
Yeah.
to like.
Oh wait, I got to shave. No, that was yesterday.
Yeah, no, that'll be tomorrow that I had to shave yesterday. Well,
You don't have to shave when you're a time traveler because you can just, make it grow back in.
Yeah,
oh, my head is hurting now. Yeah, we have the crew tries to endear themselves to Chakotay, and it works, but I feel like it works a little too fast. However, it's only a half an hour episode, and you've got a lot of things to get done here. So
well,
I let that slide.
you guys have mentioned this a couple times already. I was going to say, for 22-ish minute episodes,
Yep.
they've been packing a lot of story in each one.
Absolutely, it gets
Yeah.
Especially on this one, like we said, they had to show time elapsing, so they had to do that routine scene,
Yeah.
kind of the Groundhog Day thing. 3, maybe 4 times just to show a lot of time has passed.
right. And you want
Oh,
to
by the way, the picture you got here, doll blinking.
Oh, I got to try again.
Yeah.
Darn it. And yeah, speaking of Dahl, he seems pretty kind of he's the plot driver in this episode. It seems like a lot of times, not really being super helpful a lot. He complains about going to have to pick the fruit. He picks a fight with Chakotay. He says, we don't need your help when they're out of the ion storm. I feel like he's kind of just used to move the plot forward this time around, and other people, I think Gwyn is the one who steps up here an awful lot to
Yeah.
get things actually going
Well,
in the episode.
Watching this, I was worried Dahl was actually pulling one of those regression kind of things.
Yep.
Oh, my mind went blank.
Taking 1 step backwards, 2 step forward kind of thing.
Yeah, just like we've been talking about
Mariner.
on Mariner. Yes, thank
Yes.
you. So I was a little afraid of that when we started seeing him goofing around, trying to basically pick on Chakotay a little bit.
I did like the spot where they got in the dune buggy or whatever it was, and Jankum teaches Chakotay about percussive maintenance, and then he
Yes.
says, why is Murphy? What do you call him? The jelly dude or the jiggly guy? Or he says, what's he
Yeah.
doing here? and security. And then later when the seatbelt rips loose, like Murph stretches out and I get it now. Security.
And
Right.
one of the things that you go back in time and you go forward in time again. So the crew of the Protostar under the cadets watch, they lost the Runaway number 7
Oh, right.
on the murder planet. And now, because that didn't happen, there's the Runaway number 7. But we didn't know. We does something that we didn't know. I don't think we knew. Did we ever seen it fly before?
No.
I didn't recall seeing that. So it pulls like a DeLorean, if you will.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
wheels go sideways, and it turns into a maneuvering hovercraft type of thing.
Why don't you just drive it that way the whole time?
Yeah. Why
That's
are
a
we
good-
touching the ground?
That's right. This makes no sense. We're giving our position away. You gotta cut that out. Well, see, it's got limited batteries for that, so you have to.
Okay. Did you also notice that nobody left any footprints on that ground?
Oh no, I didn't.
I didn't
They
think about
showed a
that.
close up of Chakotay walking on that sand, but there wasn't any impression in there. And I thought that's suspicious. Are they going to work that into the story? Like maybe
He's like-
this is hologram Chakotay or something, but
He's an elf like Legolas that just kind of floats over
the snow.
Or it's not sand.
It could be very hard rock, but
Oh, no,
yes, it collapsed like sand when
Right, it
something
collapsed
was
like sand.
moved.
Right, I think it collapsed like sand. And when they moved out in the Runaway, the wheel spun. And it was
Yeah.
picking up a lot of the stuff. So
Yet no footprints.
yeah.
Shame on you, animators.
the. Hey, I'm gonna let that slide because I think they're doing a great job visually
yeah.
this whole thing. So
Absolutely.
okay,
Absolutely.
I'll forgive them for some footprints.
How did he carve the chess pieces with different colors for the uniform? It almost looked like inlay.
Yeah, well, I figure either he was putting together different pieces of wood, or he was dyeing it
No,
somehow.
it could be.
Yeah, I did wonder about that at first, and I also thought, hey, he's kind of
Uh-oh.
good at this. It was
Yeah.
interesting though that it seemed like the king and the queen were
It looked like
I'm assuming it
Chakotay
was
and
Chakotay
Janeway.
and hologram Janeway. Well, Janeway, and so it wasn't his first officer who. Well, I guess first officer. Well,
Adric was on the
Okay.
board, obviously.
yeah,
It's because those feathers were much harder to carve.
I see. Just took too long.
And of course, Jankum has to throw in a bird joke. Where's Adric? Did he chicken out?
Yeah, that's
Oh.
again.
That we could have done without that.
Didn't he make like 2 or 3 little jokes and said, okay, I'll stop?
Well, he did that when Adric was alive.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Of course, he doesn't know that he's dead at that
That's
point.
true.
But
Let that be a lesson, kids. Don't make silly jokes because the person may be dead.
yes,
Find out. Ask if they're dead first, and then
Yes.
make a joke.
is it okay if I make this joke? I just check with you first.
What is the state of Adric? I have a pending joke.
Is Clinton still with us? Okay, I'm gonna make some jokes about Clinton.
I'm dying over here. I'm dying over. Anyway,
Oh, we're all dying over here.
yeah. And speaking about dying, the story takes a kind of a dark turn when Dal makes a discovery when he's running away from the sandworms. He comes across Adric's
Adric
skeleton.
Oh yeah,
still hanging on to a canister of antimatter, apparently.
Right, and the machinery is still working, I guess, because why not? It's just being fed by the ion storms. So,
Yeah.
but I thought that was a very, very. I mean, we only saw Adric in one episode, or did we see him in two? Was he in a two-parter? Well, I think we see him just in that really quick shot in the first of those
We
two
watching the
episodes
recording.
where
Yeah.
they're they get to the I think when they get to the cell and he's got his back
Yep.
there. So we only see him in one episode, but even so, it was kind of an emotional thing when they, Chakotay finds the body and is talking to him. and then they have the setting his body off to sea. You know, very, 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 you know, again, one more thing in an episode full of things to just like, okay, now we're going to stop and we're going to
Have a
do
little
this
funeral
thing.
ceremony. Yeah. Where'd they get the boat?
Well, it was made of wood, so I'm assuming they just
Replicated it, man.
They were able to chop down the tree and fashion some timbers.
Yeah, well, it's like the professor on Gilligan's Island. But
Yeah.
well, I can,
Coconut.
but I can see them. I can see Chakotay and Adrik fashioning a boat,
To go
trying to
fishing.
find out what. Well, also like, is there something else around?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and trying to maneuver, and maybe that just doesn't go so well. So they still have the boat, but they don't use it for anything. So I could buy that they have that. But then we find out that, okay, they essentially have no power, but now they can have power, but they're still missing elements in order to get this thing flying. No, they don't have a protocore anymore because that got ejected.
Yep.
And they
The warp
don't,
core got ejected.
right. And so they have to get the matter and the antimatter, which I'm assuming the flying part is going to be this weird planet. You know, I would think that you would sail along the top of that, but I don't think the protostar.
Yeah,
is,
that was an interesting way to end. Is first we need to get it to sail, which indicates they're going out on the sea somehow.
Hey,
you know,
y'all seen Back to the Future? They're going to put a big metal hook out the back of the ship, hit those ion storms.
I
You
see.
get the steam train up to 88 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
But who's going to
That's
have to notice that the cord is not quite right? And they're going to like,
You're not
Yeah.
thinking fourth dimensionally, Marty.
Yeah. That's right.
and it was interesting that hologram Janeway took to the cadets instantly. And I like the way they carry that through, because at the point where she's describing what had happened to Chakotay, that she sits down and then they all start to just gather around her and she gets her cup of coffee and it's just like, it feels like old times. She's just like, you know, talking to her crew.
Well, didn't she say something like that? I feel like we've known each other, or we've had.
Yeah, when she finishes telling the story, she says, I don't know why I'm suddenly doing all this stuff, but you know.
Yeah.
So it was another nice moment. There's like a lot happening, but a lot of good stuff at the same time.
Yep.
In this
Yeah.
episode. All right. Any more thoughts on this? Any more zingers from Jankum? That he was, I guess he was very concerned about the storm because he's got a lightning rod for an arm. That's
Yeah. They're going to put his arm on there. Like,
oh, there
you
was
know.
just hang on the outside, just like
yeah.
grab at it when it comes by.
It's alive
Jacob, come here and sit right here. Put your hand in there.
on the nose of the ship.
Yeah.
Remember how
outside.
when in the when we were in the runaway, that Murph had its head out the window, kind of like that.
That's right.
Well, let's rate these this episode, shall we?
Sure.
All right.
And this is just part one. We'll be covering part two in our next episode. I will start off. I'm going to give this one.
What's our rating scale
Oh
on this
yes. Let's see. We could do
one? Fish eggs?
fish eggs, and
Deeks.
fruit.
Fish heads.
Fish heads. Okay, fish heads.
All right.
Roly poly fish heads.
Eat them up. Yum. I'm going to give this one. I'm going to give this one a 9. I'm going to give it a 9.25.
Ooh.
I really
Ooh.
thought that, given how many points they were able to slow this episode down,
Yeah.
the fact that they got so much accomplished and it was so powerful, that I thought well done. So I'm going to give it a 9.25. Let's go down to Craig.
I'm also going to give it. I'm going to give it a 9. I wasn't going to go 9.25, but I'm going to give it a 9 because this story was equal parts emotional, like you said, slowing down and telling a story, what happened, and actually making progress. You know, again, moving things along still, and visually, I liked it because they're on a strange planet that looks very strange and not just a regular. You're not even sure if it's a planet. It looks like a planetoid or something. But I think it was a fantastic story to put in here. At least half of the story because of part 2 next time. So a solid 9 for me.
All right. And what about you, Chuck?
I'm going with a 9.5. I really like this. Like you said, they told a wonderful story in a short amount of time. Both the slower emotional parts, like Adrik's funeral or explaining Chakotay's anger, but also sandworm action. I mean, there were action-packed moments in here.
Mhm.
So we had a little bit of everything. So I think it's a solid 9.5.
All right. Obviously,
And you know what? I will say also, so far, I mean, I've already seen the whole season, but so far up to this point, it really shows how good of a show this is because they're telling some really good stories and they're on point with everything. It seems like doing a great job.
Right. They're not having that sophomore slump of like, oh, okay, we had an idea for the season 1. Now what do we do?
Right.
Yeah, and I think that I'd be disappointed if they don't do a season 3.
Well, we don't have word yet because we're at the mercy of Netflix. I mean, we're at the mercy of Paramount Plus if it's on Paramount Plus, but
You should have donated money.
to Netflix?
No, to Paramount or CBS, I guess, to produce it more.
Well, they produced it. They paid for they paid for the whole thing. It's just Paramount Plus decided that they were going to use it as a tax write-off and get rid of it.
Oh wait, I do donate to Paramount.
Right. It's called
every month.
Yep.
Every month.
And watching the ads.
Indeed, indeed. All right. Well, that just about wraps it up for this episode. And I got to call up my calendar here because we got a crazy schedule coming up here. I'm trying to remember if we're recording. Are we on again next week? Because we're skipping some weeks. Yeah. So next week, we'll be back next week with 3 more episodes. But we'll be on a usual day, Thursday for
Recording on September 26th.
Yes, at a usual time. So that will be back to more of a normal schedule for that. And I'll try to put out a more full schedule now that we've got basically we're through the second set of episodes of Lower Decks that we scheduled. So we'll put that out for everyone to see. All right.
And hopefully by that time we'll have the office done in Utopia Planitia.
Yeah, I mean it's a rebuilding season after the Android rebellion there. But,
Man, they really tore up this place.
I'm sure no one falls into that power conduit and we get that ghosting effect like we did on the Enterprise D.
Oh, the one back there? Yeah.
Or somebody have transports like Boimler.
There's the power conduit right there. Right there.
Yep, the yellow power conduit. EPS conduit.
All right. But it's about time to refill the lithium chamber and warp on out of here. You can find me, Clinton, over at Comedy Forecast, all one word with the number 4.com. I do a podcast at short form. Just finished doing Dog Days of Podcasting, which was 31 days worth of podcasts. It actually ended in September, but they all get out there.
Yeah.
And back to work on the big story for this year, but also some other episodes coming up probably before that point. And who speaks for you guys?
Go ahead, Chuck.
You can find us at chuckchat.com/Technorama or search for Technorama Podcast. Craig and I do a lighthearted, tech nerdy, science fun podcast roughly once a week. We record live on Sunday nights. Love to see you there. And then release it on audio podcast on Wednesdays. So we've been doing that for a really, really long time.
Some say too long, but
Some say, but I don't.
All
All right.
Thank you, Clinton.
It's time to hit the theme, boys. If you like the show, please be sure to tell a friend about it and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Very important. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on X at The Topic is Trek. Visit our Facebook page or call us at 816-TREKKER. That's 816-873-5537. Until next time, on behalf of Chuck, Craig, and myself, I'm Clinton, thanking you for listening. And as we always say here on The Topic is Trek, Don't
Don't
put
Put
on
on the red shirt,
shirt.
Middleton.
Who's Middleton?
Oh. Done.
We are done.
Who's Middleton?
I don't remember him being part of the away team. So you just sent 2 people down? Is that what you're saying, Janeway? All right.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching now or later on. We are going to do some behind the scenes stuff, and we will see you again in the next episode for more Prodigy reviews and news.
All right.